Okay, so first of all, you should be on the day 1 side of your sheet that you can see here on the screen. So you've got this on paper. Make sure it says day 1. Make sure that you put your name on it and class period number. So how this is going to work, I've put the 4 vocabulary words that you're going to be copying down the definitions for up here. On the first slide, you're going to get the definition for this one. And then the next 3 are going to be on the next 3 slides, but you're also going to answer a question down here. So after you write this one, the second slide is going to deal with this vocabulary word here, juxtaposition. So you write down the definition here, but then you're also going to answer number 2 question, okay, on the same slide. And then you'll write down dislocations definition and you'll answer question number 3, okay? Transformation, and you'll answer question number 4. Okay, so this is how you're going to work through the worksheet and the video today. And then it says down here, if you're done early, create a sketch on paper from the front of the room. Make sure you put your name on the paper and staple it to this sheet. So go ahead and staple it on when you grab the paper if you get to that point. So remember, right now we're up in question number 1. Okay, that's where you're going to write the definitions. The first definition that you're going to write down, and this is for everything you're doing on this project, okay, the whole project we're doing is surrealism. Surrealism is a dreamlike composition. So that means that what you're not drawing this week is realism. You're not drawing something, a realistic person in a realistic grocery store buying realistic food. Okay. Instead, you might be drawing a realistic person. They could still be in a grocery store, but maybe instead of realistic food, maybe they're buying food that is all made of rocks. Okay. Or maybe they're buying dinosaurs instead of hamburger. Okay. Maybe it's a dinosaur going grocery shopping instead of a person. Okay. So it's dreamlike, things that cannot happen in real life. Okay. Where the whole thing is real life. Okay. Parts of it could be realistic, but it can't be totally realistic. It has to be dreamlike. Okay. So the next vocabulary word that you're going to write the definition for is juxtaposition, putting 2 different things or images side by side that don't normally go together. Okay, so you're writing that in on number 1, and then you're going to skip down to number 2, and you're going to answer a question about this painting. So look at this painting by Rene Magritte. What in this painting is something that are 2 things that are juxtaposed, 2 things that don't go together? So hopefully you see the lion and the guy with wings. First of all, the guy has wings, so those 2 things don't go together. The lion's not in a zoo or on a savanna or anything like that. So the lion doesn't belong in its place either. And the guy's not freaking out that the lion is sitting there. So all of these things are things that don't belong in this setting. Okay. It's a realistic bridge or street that they're standing on. It's a realistic, you can see a city in the background. The person is fairly realistic except for the wings. The lion is fairly realistic except that where they are and the relationship between the 2 of them doesn't go together. Okay, so make sure you write an example of 2 things that are juxtaposed for this painting in question number 2. Okay, so now you're going to go back up to question number 1 and fill in the definition for dislocation. Dislocation is when objects are placed where they shouldn't be. Okay, when objects are placed where they shouldn't be. So I've given you 2 paintings here, both by Frida Kahlo. And you can pick for number 3 which painting you're going to write about. Okay, writing something that's dislocated. Okay, but for the wounded deer, if you look at that painting depicts Frida Kahlo's head on this deer body. Okay, that means that her head on the body doesn't go there. Okay, so it's placed where it shouldn't be. It's dislocated. Okay. The dream down below, there's lots of things in here that are dislocated. Her bed is in the sky. She's got a skeleton that's on top of her bed. And then she's also got these vines that are growing up over her. She created this painting when she was bedridden after a serious bus accident where the pole that you hold on to, if you can't get a seat, actually went through her, and she was no longer able to have children after that. And she had lots and lots of back surgeries to try to make it so that she could, live, move about in her daily life again. So she felt like she was in bed long enough for those vines to grow up over her, but it's dislocated in this painting. So that is, you're answering something in number 3 for that one. Pick one of the paintings and tell me something that's dislocated. Okay, so back up to number 1, putting in a definition for transformation, turning something familiar into something unusual or disturbing. Okay, now we're looking at Ji Young Lee. She's a South Korean contemporary woman artist. She actually constructs these rooms, and then that's her in there. She's often the only person in the work. Then she photographs it, and the photograph is the only thing that lasts. She takes the room apart and does this process again in another way. What about this room, this photograph actually, then is transformed? What's turned into something unusual or disturbing? Well, for me, looking at the floor, it looks like if I tried to walk across this floor, that the space would be very uneven, and I'm not sure, even just with the wallpaper, if I would be able to walk in a straight line through this space. So it looks like an optical illusion to me. So she's changed this room into an optical illusion where it looks like I would fall through space. Okay. So look at this photograph and write down something in question number 4 that you think is transformed in Jiyoung Lee's work. Okay, so that's what's due today, is this side of your worksheet. If you're done early, then you're going to grab some paper from the front, staple it to your worksheet, and start on a surreal sketch.